Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Our Life Beginnings and Always Step 1 chapter. Let's just jump right into it. This is going to be Sandcastle. Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When you, him, and Shiloh sat out on the shoreline one bright morning, you could tell he wanted to be in the water. But there was no way he'd be swimming anytime soon. Not with his cast. I never broken any bones, so I don't... How do you shower if you can't get them wet? The waves washed a single shell to shore, glittering and blue. Another reminder of the places he couldn't go. From what you'd heard about Cove's old life so far, in tiny pieces and fragments, you could tell that he'd do anything to be able to get the cast off. Well, maybe don't be reckless and break your arm, you know? The possibilities of what he might get up to made you anxious. You thought about how his summer last year must have been totally different from this, with his old home and his mom and dad and friends and school and everything. Plus his arm being okay. Yeah. But now he was here with you and Shiloh and Lizzie and everyone else, and he couldn't even go in the sea. This town wasn't bad. It had all your favorite things in it. But sitting there on the same beach you'd grown up on, you could understand that not everybody else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you did. Okay. You watched him from the corner of your eye quietly, and he finally said aloud what you had been pondering. I wish I could go in. Maybe if you put a bag on it or something and swim like this. I don't know. The water? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You're gonna be able to do it soon. Cove only sighed in response. Apparently soon wasn't good enough. It never is, especially when you're a kid. It's so pretty, the ocean. And huge. It is. And scary. It is scary. There could be anything out there, like mermaids. Yes, mermaids! I still believe in mermaids, okay? I wish you didn't have a cast. I don't really care. Swimming might be fun if we could. I'm fine here on land. Mermaids aren't real. Swimming might be fun if we could. But it's not like there's anything we can do about it. Oh, I just made him feel worse, didn't I? Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on the situation. Come, turn back to the water. Come on, no, I regret my decision. Hold on. God damn it, no, I can't regret it. I can't regret it. But as he looked away, something about Shiloh's slow, careful movements caught his eye. Hey, are you building a sandcastle? Sort of. I was only playing around while you were talking. I'm listening. Shiloh! Join the conversation! Maybe I could too. I've only made big piles before. What if the sun got inside the cast though? Wouldn't that be fucking uncomfortable as hell? How do you clean it? Don't do it, Cove. It's really nothing special. I'm sure you'll be good at it right away with just one arm. Well, how do you do it then? Shiloh's cheeks lit up. Aww. You could tell he was a little bit uncomfortable to have Cove's expectant stared on him. Shiloh. I remember what it was like to be this kind of shy. I didn't want to please everyone like Shiloh does. I don't know if he actually wants to please everyone, but I was so shy I barely even said a word. And sometimes when I did, my mom would just shut me up, so that was kind of a bummer too. I decided not to talk in front of her or any family member. I mean, I did talk, but as little as possible. I'll play too. I love making sand stuff. I've never really made one before. I mean, if I grew up in the beach, of course I did. And I did, so I did. There's nothing else to do. No, that would make Cove feel bad because he has the cast, so we can't go in the water. I mean, I could. He could just watch, but I'm a good person. Okay. He put his hands back to his seashells and sand and nodded. I don't do a lot. Here's how I like to get a house started. Shiloh focusing more. Oh, power is back. Yes, I had a blackout. What's new? Shiloh focusing more intently than you'd ever seen him guided Cove through his process. You happily used your own method. It didn't take long for the three of you to each have humble structures prepared. That's all, kind of. You can do anything now. Like make it bigger, add some seashells, carve a pretty pattern. I bet you'll have great ideas. Are we back? We're not back. We're back. Alright. Just the things I have to go through in communism, okay? I have it best. Not best. I have it better than a lot of people because at least in the building I have a power generator where I can plug an extension cord and you know, plug my shit and stuff. So yeah, let's just continue. I hope nothing happened to the recording though. Anyways, I'm gonna make it bigger. Mine's gonna be a real castle. Cool. This is gonna be a house. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to make a house, a castle, a mansion. Well, the first time I picked a castle because how do you make a house or a mansion with sand? The whole point is a castle, right? Because you use the buckets and shit. I'm gonna make a mansion this time. I don't know how, but I will. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to design a mansion. The better part of the next hour was spent focusing on your own work. The boys were the same. Even Shiloh didn't sneak as many peeks at everyone else as he usually did. You finished shaping before either of them did, glancing up from what you'd built. It seems you got done so fast because they already searched around for extra decorations. Shiloh had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff and Cove had a lot of the shells, but there were still options. The first thing you reached for was a red bottle cap, blue seashell, a green piece of sea glass. Sea glass, I love sea glass. It was the best fit for your mansion. Because it is, right? Sea glass is when it's bad though, when people, I don't know, throw broken glasses into the ocean and it stops being sharp. I don't know how to explain it, but that's it, right? Because it is. I love it. It was the best fit for your mansion, you decided. It was see-through and sparkly. So you tucked it away somewhere secure inside, barely poking out to make sure it didn't get lost. Pleased with your results, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cove and Shiloh seemed super immersed still. You knew you could probably sneak a peek at either one's work. You checked out Cove's sandcastle, you checked out Shiloh's sand house, you decided not to look. I'm gonna check Shiloh. I want to be friends with Shiloh. Shiloh loved me, god damn it. Shiloh was definitely the best one out of all three of you at building sandcastles. His was also the smallest, but there were so many glittering debris and carved sand shapes all over the entire building that his effort was obvious. Shiloh's little house even had a tiny garden by the front door and another one in the back, all made out of pebbles and other bits of and bobs. The silence was then broken. What's on the top of yours, Shiloh? You peeked closer and discovered something shiny sticking out of Shiloh's sand chimney. Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. God damn it, human beings leaving trash on the beach. It looks like smoke. Aw. It's good, that's smart. Yeah, I didn't think of that. I guess I don't see it. I'm not gonna be mean to Shiloh. You should be an architect. Kinda looks more like a worm. He should be an architect, but that's what I picked the first time, so I'm gonna go with I didn't think of that. You really know a lot about this. Shiloh smiled without a word. And that was that for the current topic. Jamie, can I see what you did? Yes, sure. He scooted just a bit nearer and began surveying your work. All you really knew about mansions was that they were supposed to be big, so you'd gone really big. It was the size of the country club that Lizzie played golf at. Compared to Cove, okay. I thought it was for real. I was like, hold on. Compared to Cove and Shiloh's buildings. Probably even bigger. Shiloh quickly decided to jump in the conversation. Hey Jamie, what did you do? I made a mansion. It looks great. Your house is so big. It's not a big house. It's a mansion. I guess mansions are just really big houses. Thanks. You just looked at him. I'm gonna thanks. You're welcome. I don't think that's the same as a house. Of course, Cove was gonna break the moment. Huh? Is being a house bad? No, but we each made our own place. Nobody is the same. I think we are. Cove raised an eyebrow at that. If something is the only one of that thing that makes it special. Yeah, for sandcastles and stuff. People too. My dad always says how everybody is their own man, a real individual or woman. I don't think I'm very special. Shiloh. Why? Why not? Nobody else is you. Shiloh simply shook his head. I'm not different. A beat passed between the two. Cove then looked down at his own work again. Okay. He didn't seem to be bothered leaving the disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things in his mind. My dad tried to get me to make sandcastles the first time we came to this beach. I didn't want to. Cove trailed off again. There was another moment of silence. Okay, I love Cove. He's my baby. I love him. But he always, every time we're talking about something else, something that is not related to him, he always changes the subject back to my life sucks. Shiloh shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. You didn't think he noticed that Shiloh was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened when your mom met my dad, Jamie? You blinked, not expecting the question. You thought hard. I wasn't there, they didn't tell me. I just remember what happened when I met your dad. Mr. Holden had been a weird stranger then. Well, he was still kind of strange. No other parent acted like him. I love Mr. Holden! But you knew him better at this point. Now that you thought about it, it made a lot of sense that Cove's dad talked to him about people being unique. You were pulled from your thoughts when Cove continued. Oh well, I was there. I don't think my mom has met your dad. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Jamie's parents and my dad met the same day I met her. I'm gonna say what happened. Shiloh frowned to himself, ducking his head. His hat cast a shadow over his face. You could still tell he was upset at not being included in Cove's choice of topic. That was kind of boring for him, though giving people their own turn to say the things they want is important too. You stayed silent and let Cove finish his story. I think Shiloh wants to talk too. I defended Shiloh the first time, so I'm gonna go with I stayed silent. I'm gonna stay silent. Silent. Shiloh could talk about stuff after Cove had a chance to share what he planned on. When we moved here, we didn't bring a lot of things with us, only some stuff that would fit in that car. We didn't even get a moving truck. I sat in there while Dad brought it all inside. I didn't want to get out because I knew that would make me look around the new house. I really didn't want to do that. His lips twisted into a frown as he recalled that. Boy, just... Then I saw your moms. They were in a car too and stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed and waved his hand, just one. Then went over to the front of your house where he started talking to them. I don't know what they said, I couldn't hear it. But he couldn't see me anymore since he was looking the other way, so I opened the car door and left. I wanted to get away and went behind the houses. I found those hills there, the ones where we met for the first time. Huh. Cove nodded and then stared at you. You stared back. He didn't go on to say anything more. What an interesting story, Cove. Share more. Is that it? Cove's brow wrinkled, like he didn't understand why you were surprised. That's all that happened. Okay. Why? That's mean. Why did you want to tell the story if nothing happened? You're really gonna get better at telling stories. That was a pretty bad story. Thanks for telling me. Thanks for telling me. Not gonna be rude. You're welcome. Even if not much happened, you weren't gonna complain about knowing the story. Shiloh's mouth twisted into a scowl of disbelief, but he said nothing. Why did you bring that up anyway? There was a slight shrug of Cove's shoulders. He wanted to make the conversation about him. Cove, he's just a kid. I was thinking about it because of the sandcastle. It made me remember when I moved here. That showed me the beach first before we went back to the car to unpack. He was really excited about it for some reason because he loves the beach. Who doesn't love a beach? Beach, not the other word. You know what I mean. Cove's brows whirred a little more as he quietly raked his hands through the sand. Hands? Plural? Cove, you're cast! I get it. You thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach and was instead hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped into his head. Shiloh fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand had made Cove more aware of his presence. They looked at each other and you could only wonder what this might be about. Maybe Shiloh likes Cove too? He could. I mean... Oh, they would be so cute together. Stop, lolicon. No. Shotakon. Yeah, that's the correct word. Shotakon. God damn it. 16-year-old Sora, leave this brain right now. Yeah? Why are you always turning so red even when nothing is happening? We gotta teach you some manners, boy! Clearly startled, he jerked back. Neither you or Shiloh had expected that to be how he got included into the conversation again. I don't know, I guess. Okay, it's kind of weird. Shiloh's eyes were wide with embarrassment and his lips twitched, and he was blushing even harder than before. Maybe it wasn't only this, perhaps it was simply the last straw, but it was a big deal to Shiloh. A huge deal. He didn't just look sad, he seemed almost panicked. Poor Shiloh. You don't know how to deal with shy people. You weren't sure if he was about to cry or run away or what, but you soon got an answer. Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses, and nobody is named Cove. Who asked you to come? It was probably just your dad bugging Jamie's family some more because you don't have anyone else who'll ever play with you. Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to even mention. It didn't seem like the kind of thing he'd get upset about, though you hadn't ever known what kind of thing would bother Shiloh. I'm sorry. After you exploded? Oh, kids. They're kids. Me too, I was just wondering. Hey, let's build another sandcastle. You try to play on your own. Are we gonna build more? You nervously messed with the sand. I'm gonna nervously mess with the sand. You picked up some sand and turned it over in your hands. There didn't seem to be much you could do to stop the fight, and you weren't sure what to do with yourself. Cove looked over at what you were doing and started building his own set of walls. Shiloh took a breath before kneeling back down to his own patch of sand. It seemed they both decided to try playing again. You were glad for that. You all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Shiloh's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. Filters, Cove. Filters. The air stayed uncomfortable the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shiloh's mom appeared at the beach to take him home. Cove and Shiloh had mostly followed your lead and barely said a word. His mom standing behind him, even Shiloh's goodbye had been quiet, friendly, cheerful, but not noticeably quiet. But with Shiloh gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head to your own houses. You followed him as he made his way out of the sand. The walk home was quiet. You passed by familiar landmarks, shoes thumping against the sidewalk in near perfect unison word. Cove was clearly caught up in thinking about something. You asked Cove what he's thinking. You stayed silent. I'm gonna ask him what he's thinking because I stayed silent the first time. The prospect of asking made you nervous, but you did it anyways. Hey, is everything okay? I was just wondering. Cove fell silent again for a few more seconds, then sighed. Why'd Shiloh act like that when I said he was all read a lot? You were being rude to him. He's just being a baby. You shouldn't make fun of him. I don't know. It's just Shiloh. He gets embarrassed. You shrugged at Cove with no answer to give. He gets embarrassed. I mean, it's fucking obvious. He was being rude to him. Oh, I mean, maybe we don't really know Cove's, I don't know, mind. We don't know if he doesn't have a filter because he, is autistic or something. That wouldn't be his fault. So I'm just gonna, he gets embarrassed. Embarrassed, but I didn't say anything that bad. It might have upset him anyway. I guess I can get it why he would do that. Sometimes I get really mad too, despite seemingly coming to a conclusion. Cove's mood was still sour. Jamie, was Shiloh telling the truth? Huh? His gaze left yours as he dug the sole of his shoe into the ground. He looked oddly vulnerable for a second. Does my dad make you hang out with me? I know he talks to your moms about that a lot. An uncomfortable weight settled on your chest at the question. You liked spending time with Cove. You didn't even have to think hard about it. You knew you did. But you couldn't help feeling guilty. Cove still didn't know what happened when you met Mr. Holding. I never told him. The first time playing to where I am right now, I never told him. I was like, I'm never gonna tell him. But I want to tell him now to see, well, not now, but this second time playing, to see what's his reaction going to be. I mean, a kid, or as a kid, he's too, I don't know, he takes everything way too seriously, and like his emotions are just too much. I don't think I'm gonna be able to tell him at this age. Neither at 13, because he's still like figuring out some shit. Maybe at 18. So step 3, I don't know. Nobody's making me spend time with you. Your dad does do stuff so you'll hang out with my family, but Shiloh shouldn't have said that. You decided to tell him about how his dad offered you money. No, nobody's making me. Cove's shoulders relaxed. You hadn't even noticed that he had tensed up. Yeah, that's what I thought too. I'm not gonna tell him yet. Anyway, I didn't think you were pretending. I just wanted to make sure it was okay. Is all. Oh my god, should I tell him now? I already picked. I'm not going back. Thanks for telling me. Liar. Ah! Your throat tightened. It was hard to meet Cove's earnest gaze again. Okay. I'm gonna tell him. And let's just see what happens, okay? Let's just see what happens. Well, remember how you talked about how our parents met and I didn't know what happened? Yeah. I kind of had something happen that you don't know about when I met your dad. As you struggled to find the right words, Cove looked at you. Word. You wilted under his gaze, breaking eye contact. You stared at the ground. I was walking home and your dad was sitting in front of the house. It must have been after you ran away. My moms weren't there either. I think they were looking for you. Your dad saw me. He got up and came over. Mr. Holden told me that he just moved into the house next to mine. You snuck a look at Cove. He was still listening, his expression as plain as before. You paused for a moment, wondering if you should really keep going. Oh my god, I'm regretting this. You didn't tell Cove what happened after all. You told the full story. I'm not ready. I'm just not ready. I didn't tell Cove what happened after all. No, I can't lie. At this point, I'm gonna tell the full story. Even if it was supposed to be a secret, you thought Cove should still know. Your dad wanted you to have a friend, so he offered me money, $20. You didn't have to say the exact amount. Cove was so still you thought he hadn't heard you. Then his eyes widened, his mouth fell open, but no sound left him. Silence stretched between you, so tense that... But I didn't say I ran away! So tense that it was almost tangible. You shifted from one foot to another and your hands tensed up. Cove? Instead of speaking, he closed his mouth. His eyebrows went up, crinkling his forehead. He looked more sad than surprised now. He was going to cry, you were certain of it. I didn't take it, the money. I just ran away, honest. Cove raised his hands and brought them up under his glasses, his fingers pressed over his eyes, hiding them from your sight. Oh my god, Cove, I'm so sorry! Then right in the middle of the street, the tears began to fall. His shoulders shook with the force of his sobs. You could glimpse wetness through the cracks of his fingers slipping down his cheeks. You opened your mouth, but you had no idea what to say. I'm gonna touch him because I hate people touching me, but if I feel the energy and the moment right, and you know, I like a touching somewhere, just to let them know that I understand whatever they're telling me and feel whatever they're feeling. So should I place a hand on his head or on his shoulder? I guess shoulder, or are we the same height? Ah! I shouldn't have told him. Oh, you place a hand on his head. May I place a hand on his head? No, head is more like a motherly. I'm 8. Shoulder. I'm gonna go for shoulder. This is so hard. Awkwardly, you reached over and rested a hand on his shoulder. So maybe not shoulder, but Cove shook his body from side to side, rejecting your presence. Shut up! Okay, I'm going for head. Unsure, you slowly place your hand on the top of his head. Your mommy did that for you sometimes. But Cove shook his body. Oh, god damn it, Cove. Stop rejecting me. I'm going back to shoulder. Go away. I'm not going away. You flinched at the shout as you stood there listening to him cry. You felt uncomfortable over the thing he was making, concerned for him, regret for telling him about the money, bad about everything. Bad about everything, because telling him, bad idea. I mean, makes me feel bad, but not telling him also made me feel bad, because I was hiding something from him. Maybe I really should have waited until he was grown. You know what? I think I'm gonna do that after the DLC for Step 3 drops, if I get the chance to tell him again, because every time they pointed it out, I was like, I ain't telling him. So if I ever get the chance, I'm gonna do it, because it's all grown, so maybe he understands better. Do I only regret telling him? Keeping a secret. I feel bad about everything, just bad, terrible. You wish you were still making sandcastles on the beach. Before Cove was sad, before Shiloh was mad, everything had been so much better than it was. Cove continued to weep, with his face covered by his hands. Worse, his voice raised in volume. You were frozen in place. The situation was awful, and you kept feeling worse every second. Stop being so loud. Please don't cry. I'm sorry, Cove. You hugged him. You started crying too. I want to hug him, but I think I would cry too. I'm gonna cry too. You didn't know what to do to stop Cove from crying. You began to panic. Before you realized that your eyes were misting over, then you were crying with him. You couldn't stop. You heard a door open. Oh my god! Awkward! You heard a door opening and you flinched, expecting to see one of the mean old grandparents preparing themselves to yell at you. At this hour, most people weren't around, either because they were working or down in the town. But the grandparents rarely left the house except to complain at children making noise in the street. You didn't want Cove to have to deal with that right now. You tried to come up with something you could do for him, for the situation, for anything. But the door that stood open now didn't belong to the grandparents. Please don't be Mr. Holding. To your utter surprise and relief, it was Cove's own. His dad was already home. God damn it. How are you gonna explain why we're crying in the middle of the fucking street? I shouldn't have said anything. As he picked out his door, Mr. Holding momentarily looked unsure. Perhaps he had suspicions on the noise outside, but wasn't entirely positive. Though a kid crying is pretty distinct, and there aren't a lot of kids. Plus, I'm pretty sure he knows how his own son cries. Maybe he didn't want to believe something might be wrong with his son. His face fell as he spotted the source of the commotion. It was pained, and it was scared. And it reminded you of the one he'd worn the first night you'd met Cove. Mr. Holden didn't go down the steps in front of his house. He just jumped right over them and stumbled into a run. Oh, Mr. Holden is the best. He skipped to a stop before Cove, bent down on one knee, and then, oh my god, Cove's gonna be so rude. Solidly cupped Cove's teary face with his hands. What's wrong? Are you hurt anywhere? Cove continued to cry, unable or unwilling to cough out an explanation. Not taking his hands from Cove, Mr. Holden turned to you for an explanation, his eyes wide and imploring. Oh my god, Mr. Holden, I can't! He wanted to know if you tried to make me hang out with him. I told him about the money! Why didn't I lie there? I'm so sorry, Mr. Holden. I have disappointed everyone. Can I go back and change everything? As you spoke, Mr. Holden's chest rose while he inhaled a deep, shaky breath, culminating in a gasp at your final words. Why? Why would you? He clamped his mouth shut, shaking his head, his face. He faced his crying son again. No, it's my fault. I shouldn't have done something like that in the first place. He cast his eyes down, sighing. When he next spoke, it wasn't part of a conversation anymore. It was barely loud enough for you to catch his words. Jamie's only a kid. Tears were still streaming down Cove's face. Smiling sadly, Mr. Holding wiped Cove's cheeks with a thumb. He furrowed his brows and looked at the ground. Let us fix this. Cove and I. Just go, Mr. Holden. When he next glanced up, his mouth was set with determination. Mr. Holden finally took his hands off Cove. He reached for his wallet, confused. You stared at the little rectangle that all adults seem to carry in some shape or form. It had been the source of all the problems. You were sure that Cove wouldn't want to be reminded of it right now. Mr. Holden was clearly of a different mind to you. He inexplicably retrieved another $20 bill, rolled it up, and raised it to Cove's face. Cove's eyes were hidden behind tightly clamped fingers, so Mr. Holden poked Cove's nose with the bill. Cove picked between his hands and grunted as he saw what he had been worded with. Even if it was surrounded by sobs, you were glad that something else had finally left Cove's mouth. Hey Cove, can you stop crying? I'll give you this cash if you do. Cove dropped his hands from his face. It had already been red and wet with tears, but now his features were scrunched up in a scowl. Not for the first time you questioned Mr. Holden's tactics. he had to use two hands, but Cove firmly shoved his dad's own hand away. But Mr. Holden just chuckled at Cove's reaction and tossed the money aside. It unfurled as it flew through the air, rising before slowly drifting to the floor. Oh my god, this picture is beautiful! Look at Mr. Cove! Mr. Cove, Mr. Holden! What's his name again? Cliff? Oh, he's so cute. Oh my god, Mr. Holden. Mr. Holden. I know Cove is my boyfriend, okay? But his dad is gorgeous. Mr. Holden took Cove's outstretched wrists and lowered them to Cove's side, stopping him from hiding his face again. Oh, this picture is just so beautiful! I always see Mr. Holden like, you know, like this part of him. I never see him. I'm so excited. Okay. Cove's dad clearly wasn't going to let go. Huffing, Cove turned his whole head away, tears continuing to roll down his cheeks as he glowered at the ground. Oh, allergy. No, not right now. You can buy a lot of cool things with that, but it can't do everything, can it? Cove didn't respond, not even to look at his father. Mr. Holden continued. Your old dad likes to make things nice for you with the money he earns. He doesn't know, I guess, how to show. I mean, he perfectly knows how to show love without any money. He cares for his son so much. Cove, come on. I know you're 8, but like but you're smart. You know that I haven't really done anything. I still make you sad and upset, just like right now. I'm sorry. Cove sniffed, the harsh line of his brow mellowing. Mr. Holden squeezed Cove's hand and continued. Jamie is smart too, right? Mr. Holden spoke in a soft, encouraging tone, and Cove continued to calm. You have nothing to worry about except for me. Mr. Holden chuckled. Cove pressed his lips together, mulling over his father's words, though the stream of tears had erased drops still budded word in his eyes and threatened to spill out. I love you, son, so much, more than anybody else. Sometimes that makes me a little too hasty to see you happy, and I make it all worse. I really am sorry. Mr. Holden. Scrunching his eyes tight, Cove nodded. When his eyes opened again, they were red and glossy, but there were no tears left on the word of his lower lashes. Aside from the occasional sniff, he was mostly back to his usual self. He swallowed. Okay. Though Cove had refused to echo Mr. Holden's exact words, the sentiment seemed to be enough for his dad. Mr. Holden, I love you, marry me. He moved his hands up under Cove's armpits and hoisted Cove high into the air with the green. Cove's hands flew to his glasses, holding them back from falling off. Cove's lips were shut tight, all betrayed by the telltale smile in his eyes that he was trying hard to hide. Mr. Holden laughed, lowering Cove so that he was securely pinned against his chest. Cove looked away, face angled to the ground. Now that his dad could no longer see him, he was allowing himself a smile. Mr. Holden might have missed it, but you didn't. Cove wriggled, pushing a hand against his dad's shoulder. Can I go back down now? Yeah. Mr. Holden set Cove gently on the ground, waiting until his feet found their footing before releasing him entirely. I have to do something. Wait here. As Cove wandered away, Mr. Holden gaze stuck to him like glue. You sighed, eyes downcast. You felt weird that you'd only been able to stand there while the event unfolded. You weren't able to fix it. I couldn't do anything. Don't worry about it, please. We don't need another tragedy today. He winked, and you weren't impressed. Hey, I mean that, the first part anyway. There's only so much you can do to try fixing someone else's mistake. He smiled sincerely at you. You've done plenty for Cove. Just the fact that you were honest with him when his own dad wasn't proves it. Thanks for being such a good kid. I hope you'll keep spending time with the boy. Always and forever, man. I'm gonna marry your son. Or you, I mean, either one. As though the sound of his name summoned him, Cove returned, clutching the bill his dad had cast aside earlier. You cocked your head and Cove's dad raised his eyebrows. Cove looked at the crumpled note, then walked over and held it out to you. No, I don't want it. I stopped crying, but I don't want this. You can have it. He gave you a small smile. Behind him, Mr. Holden was still watching Cove closely, clearly relieved. You shared the feeling. Cove was making peace with the deal that happened behind his back. You decided not to I'm not gonna take the money. I don't want the money. I mean, my moms are fucking rich, okay? Shaking your head, you pushed the note back to Cove. I don't need it, but I don't want it. You were at a stalemate. Mr. Holden hummed thoughtfully, tapping his head. He gazed up at the white sky as he pretended to give the conundrum serious consideration. I know. He plucked the bill from Cove and tore it right in two. You and Cove guys. I mean, Mr. Cove, I know you have a lot of money, but like, come on. Dad, we can't do anything with it now. We can keep it, as a how do you call that? Memorabilia. True, it won't work at the store like this, but now you can split it. Crouching down, he held out the pieces to you and Cove. You both looked at the two halves. Neither of you reached for them. It still has value as a keepsake, a memory. I know! And that's one of the most valuable things you can use on money. Money on. Oops. Switch the words there. That sounds pretty good, huh? Maybe I'm getting smarter. You're so smart, Mr. Cove. I keep calling him Cove. Well, Mr. Cove's dad, whatever. Mr. Holden. Wordlessly, Cove stretched out a hand and took his half. You took yours, running a finger along the jagged edge of the bill. It was cool to think that no other note would share this exact same feature. The precise peaks and... Is there an H missing in that word? Or I have no idea what it is. Not even gonna. Of the tier, except for Cove's, which would bear them in reverse. It did feel like there was value left in it. Mr. Holden, achievement unlocked! The deal. See, I should have done that the first time playing. I just couldn't. I knew Cove was gonna feel so bad and I just couldn't break his heart. And I didn't know how to explain to Mr. Holden that I broke his son's heart because of it. Mr. Holden stood up, stretching his arms out casually. Well then, it's about time for dinner. Me and the Rugrat need to be going in. You probably should too. I bet your moms want to see you. Alright, bye. Have a good night and thanks, Jamie. Father and son waved at you as you turned and dashed back home. The note clenched tightly in your hand. You felt lighter. I do feel lighter. God damn it. All right. Okay. So this chapter was a lot more different than the first time I played it. Obviously, because I made a big fucking change. That's the whole point of playing it again, right? To making big changes. I'd been making like little changes here and there, but this time, oh my god, this time, I told him. I told him. I feel relieved. Everything turned out okay. But damn, I hate seeing Cove cry. Even though he cries for absolutely nothing at all, always. And I got to see Mr. Holden's profile? Not profile. Side. I don't know. A different type of drawing for him. I love Mr. Holden. He's such a great dad. And I love my moms too. They're such great moms. I love everything about this game. Anyways, thank you for being with me during this chapter of step 1, and I will see you in my next video.
I am Peter Pan, I'll never be a man if you never wanna grow. Take my hand, I'll take you